Hi, my name's Larry, and this is my hashtag WalkAway video where I explain how I got hoodwinked by the liberals and the Democrats to basically blindly follow their liberal dogma and to just vote for whoever pretty much they said I needed to vote for. So anyway, I don't do videos for webs, so this is my first one I've ever done. So I'm just going to talk and hopefully it'll come out okay. Okay, so last Thursday, Trump had a rally in Ohio, I believe it's Cincinnati, and I went on YouTube and I watched his speech, but I didn't see any of the speakers beforehand. But the next day I was on Twitter and someone tweeted a link to Brandon Straka's opening speech at the video. I had never heard of him. I'd never heard of the WalkAway campaign, but I really liked his passion and his energy in his speech, and he just came across as just an honest guy telling his experience, and I really liked what he said, and he was very passionate behind it. So he talked about how Trump doesn't need to be president. He has all the money he wants. He has more than he wants. He had all the fame he wanted. He didn't need to be abused and be called all these names. And I really believe that. And also he talked about how Trump is very proud of his record on black unemployment, record low black unemployment, record low Hispanic unemployment, record low employment, pretty much period. And he said the blacks and Hispanics and all the other minorities don't need he doesn't need their votes, and he's right. He doesn't need their votes. So I mean, he's just proud. He's not singing his praises of his record because he's trying to get their just because he's trying to get their votes, because they don't really vote for him. He's proud because of his record, because he really honestly wants to help everyone. So anyway, that's I followed the hashtag. I went to the WalkAway campaign website and I saw Brandon's 6-minute video talking about how white his WalkAway video, and then I saw his interview with Mark Levin, and he really talked to me and my experience. And I really, as I said, I don't do this, but I just have to. I watched all his other, almost all the last few days. I've been watching his videos of the campaign years ago, and just recently, just all the way through the week. So I really support the WalkAway campaign. So here I am. I'm just going to start talking about my experience. I was born in 1962. You can do the math, how old I am. My first experience with politics was basically the Watergate hearings in 1974. I mean, I hated Nixon, Richard Nixon, not because of his politics. I mean, I didn't pay attention to when he came on the news. I mean, it's like the Charlie Brown adults in the Charlie Brown cartoons. Wah, 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 wah. I didn't understand anything any politician said. But I hated the Watergate hearings because they were preempting my TV shows that I wanted to watch in the middle of the afternoon. I wanted to watch Star Trek. I wanted to watch Bewitched. I wanted to watch Gilligan's Island. Those were my TV shows. I was 12 years old. I wanted to watch my TV shows. Then I didn't understand what the heck is a Watergate. I mean, I go look at out the window at the gate in our fence, and I said, so how do you make a gate out of water? I didn't understand that at all. So anyway, I watched a little bit of the Watergate hearings. They weren't explaining what a Watergate was. So anyway, I just turned the TV off. And finally, later on, months later, he had resigned, and I was happy because he was out of office, and I didn't have to worry about whether I was going to get my TV that afternoon or not. So anyway, but my next experience was in 1977, 78. I had caught on the radio this guy talking about politics, and he was talking about America, and he just had a short 2 or 3 minute speech, and I would listen to him I got to the point where I would listen to him religiously. I realized he was on every day or every weekday, and his name was Ronald Reagan. And he talked about individual freedom, individual empowerment, how great this country was, and all we needed to do was empower the individual. The government didn't solve anything, and I realized he really was talking to me and my beliefs. This country is great, and all we need to do is empower people to be the best they can be. And it's not up to government to make me who I am. It's up to me. I really believe that. So every day I'd hide away for the 2 or 3 minutes he was in my room with my little transistor radio, and I'd listen to Ronald Reagan. I asked my civics teacher, "Who the heck is this Ronald Reagan?" And she explained to me that he had run for president. He was governor of California. And so anyway, in the fall of '79, he said this is my last radio show because I'm running for president. So wow, I said okay, so I had to do whatever I could do to get Ronald Reagan to be president. So I had Reagan bumper stickers. I passed them out. I was going to college at the time. I passed them out on Reagan stickers. I went to the OU football games, and I passed Reagan bumper stickers out. I did whatever I could to get him elected, and he was elected in a landslide. I was happy. So anyway, but I also realized, hey, why isn't the Republican Party really supporting Reagan and his policies throughout his tenure? And I learned of what they called the Rockefeller Republicans, who really didn't care about people. They're kind of like the Never Trumpers today. They were the Never Reagans back then. So anyway, I'm trying to make I'm making this too long, but I was kind of fed up. I still love Ronald Reagan, but I was kind of fed up with all the Republicans. So by the time he'd won his landslide reelection and getting into his second term, I had graduated college, I'd gotten a job, and I'd gotten a couple of friends. And this is the other half of my story. I am a gay man, and I knew when I was probably 8 or 10 years old, this has been 1970, 72 time frame, that I was gay. I didn't understand hardly anything what that meant, but I would go to school, and with my friends, there was everybody knew this other boy in our class was kind of very feminine, and I did not want to be that guy. I did not want to be treated the way that guy was treated. The humiliation, everybody would talk about him behind his back. So I went into the closet then. I could not be gay, and I did everything I could to be straight. And I carried that throughout my schooling and into my adult life. But anyway, these two friends I had in the late 80s, they were gay, and they befriended me. And I guess because they knew I was gay, even though I was doing my best to hide it anyway, I was kind of floundering. I didn't know. I mean, Reagan was getting ready to leave office. I didn't know who to support, and they were telling me about how, well, Reagan really wasn't that great of a president, wasn't that great of a person. He fired all the gays that worked for the state when he was governor of California. The reason AIDS was around at that time was because he purposefully delayed research into the AIDS epidemic. And I bought into what they were saying. They were also saying how, these Rockefeller Republicans, they only care about their money and their rich friends. They didn't care about the poor people. It was the Democrats that cared about the poor people. That's why they supported welfare. It was the Democrats that cared about the working class people. That's why they supported the unions. It was Democrats who weren't racist. There was the Democrats who weren't homophobes. And I bought into all of that, and that identity politics, because honestly, the Republicans didn't have anything to answer to that. So anyway, so I bought into that. So in '88, I voted for Dukakis. In '92 and '96, I voted for Clinton. And in 2000 and 2004, I voted for Gore and then Kerry. So I bought into all of that. But throughout this whole time, I was also in my closet, and I've even got married to a woman that I really dearly loved. But there's a difference between loving someone as a person and loving someone in a romantic sense, and that did not work. So anyway, by the late '90s, my marriage and my life was over. I asked God. I said, I don't understand what I'm going through. What do I need to do? Show me. And so he showed me. I was into alcoholism. He showed me that I was going to get into drugs, and I was either one, going to be killed by drugs or killed by my own hand. So I asked for help. And to make a long story short, I got help. I got counseling. I got into AA 12-step program, and my counselors sent me to say, you go to all these meetings, but here's one I want you to go to. It was a AA meeting specifically for not exclusively for gay and lesbian crowd, but it catered, and most of the members were gay and lesbians, and they really helped me come out. So they became my new friends. They helped me not only come out in the AA program, but also come out as a gay man and live and be comfortable with myself. So so everything was fine. They still believed, like I did, that I even had a Democrats Care bumper sticker. Democrats care about poor people. They care about working class people. They care about blacks. They care about gays and lesbians. So anyway, so 2008 comes along. So I voted for all of these, and okay, there's this Barack Obama, and I didn't, I followed politics. I didn't know who this guy was. I knew who all the other politicians, but this was a guy just all of a sudden out of the blue came upon the scene. Everybody was talking about how he was going to be president. He was going to be the Democratic nomination. I didn't understand who the heck he was, and they weren't really talking about him. So I decided I was going to do my own research. Whoops, that's not what the Democrats and liberals want you to do. So I found out about him. I found out how radical he was. He wasn't just a liberal Democrat. He was an avowed socialist and radical, not just a socialist, but a radical socialist, and he hated America. I found speeches of his from, I guess it was Columbia University, and I think I even heard an audio of one of his speeches. I mean, it was but anyway, my friends were still, were going to vote for Obama, and one lady sent an email, broadcast email. Facebook wasn't really big enough. They sent out a broadcast email about how the primaries were starting. Well, let me back up one step here. I found out after I found out how radical he was, I decided I'm just not going to vote for him. I'm going to vote for Hillary in the primary. So, and I thought, once the media, who is honest and always tells the truth, once the media came out with who Barack Obama was, that's who everybody was going to gravitate to anyway. So she was going to be the 2008 Democrat nominee. Well, the media didn't. And I was kind of having an out-of-body experience through the whole winter of 2007, 2008. Is why is the media not exposing this guy for who he is? Isn't that their job? I didn't understand. So anyway, the primary started in the late winter, and finally, and they still weren't telling the truth. And one lady in our group sent out a broadcast email. Like I said, Facebook wasn't really around that big, so everybody communicated a lot through broadcast emails in our group. And she said, well, we're finally going to figure out whether America is still a racist country or not. And I couldn't believe that. I thought, so I sent out a reply and said, I'm not going to vote for Obama. This is why I'm not going to vote for Obama. It's not because he's black. It's because I don't like his policies. It's because here is who he is, a radical socialist who hates this country. And all of a sudden, I was banished. How dare you? I would reply, hey, I'm voting for Hillary. Hillary's not a racist. No, you're a racist. We don't want you coming to our group meetings. We don't want you I was shunned by all my friends, all my support group. So I was devastated. So I was in my out of body experience through the whole 2008 primaries. I could not understand why the media was not exposing Obama for who he was, and I was devastated that I lost all of my friends. I didn't know what to do. I mean, and I started listening and doing my own research, and not just blindly. I mean, if they were lying about Obama, what else were they lying about? So I started doing my own research, and finally, I did. I said, they're lying all the time, and I finally said, okay, here's the big lie. Were they even lying about this guy that they told me is a racist, is a homophobe? He's his name was Rush Limbaugh. I said, well, if they're lying about everything else, did they lie to me about Rush Limbaugh? So I decided to listen to Rush Limbaugh. I started listening to Rush Limbaugh in 2008, and I learned after listening to him a while, he was not a racist. He's not a homophobe. Matter of fact, a lot of what he was talking about, he was channeling what I really liked about Ronald Reagan, and I did not understand why. I mean, then that was kind of my moment. I said, okay, these liberals and Democrats and the media, they're all liars. I started listening to Rush Limbaugh to kind of open my eyes to not just what he was saying, but to also I realized back that what I liked about Ronald Reagan was true. I did research about Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan did not fire all the state gay employees. He did not delay research into AIDS. There were some people around in his administration that prevented his knowledge about the situation in the early times of AIDS. But as soon as he was approached by his Health and Human Services guy about the problem, and he said, "Okay, what do we need?" So I mean, I found all of this out, and also, I mean, I found one other thing that I didn't even know about, that they were silent. And here's one of the what I read on a website in 1978, when California was on the verge of passing a state ballot initiative that would ban openly gay teachers. It was Ronald Reagan's opposition to that. It was Reagan's opposition that changed public opinion. He had been lobbied to weigh in by several gay rights activists, and so he did. Which, if you think about what he was trying to do in 1978, win over conservatives, that was pretty ballsy. And yes, so you can't tell me that someone who came out a year before he was going to announce his second run for the presidency, a year before that he would come out and basically kill a California state ballot initiative that would ban openly gay teachers. He's not a homophobe, and he is not anti-gay. So don't, I mean, I'm not buying that. But they don't tell you this. The liberals don't tell you this. So, I mean, that opened my eyes. And from then on, I do my research. That's not what they want. They didn't want me. I mean, if I'd have done my research back in '88, I never would have been a liberal. I'd never been a liberal Democrat. But I mean, the Republican Party is not perfect. I mean, they were Rockefeller Republicans back then. They're the Never Trumpers. Basically, they're the same people. I think if you did a lineal flow from the Rockefeller Republicans and the Never Trumpers today, I think you'd see them connect. I think you'd see connections, definite connections between them. I mean, there were a lot of good. I mean, William F. Buckley. I listened to a lot of him after I finally walked away from the Democratic Party and the liberal mantra. So there were some that I really liked. But I mean, do your own research, and that's what I do. That's why I'm a big Trumper today. I mean, I liked what he was saying. I do not like the Never Trumpers. I still do not like the what I call the Republican establishment, the Rockefeller Republicans, the Never Trumpers. I mean, they're elitists. I don't like them. So, I mean, Republican Party is not perfect, but we got a guy that, I mean, he does care. I mean, so I just encourage everyone to, walk away and to find your own path and choose your own path.